think students fail to realize how important it is to actually shoot for 100% accuracy, especially at the beginning of each section.
Mm-hmm.
When Carlos says that he's able to get 14 or 15 out of 17, that's actually not as good as Carlos thinks it is.
Correct.
You know, especially if it's 14 out of 17.
Yeah.
Making 3 mistakes on the 17 easiest, on average, the 17 easiest LR questions. I'm assuming, by the way, Carlos, that you're doing the questions in order. If you're skipping around, that right there is part of your problem. But I'm going to assume that you're just starting at the beginning of each section. And if you're getting 14 out of 17, you seem to think that's good, but I actually think you can do better than that. And I think if you do better than that, that's the easiest way by far to improve your score. Cleaning up, you know, if you're missing 3 out of the first 17, those 3, maybe one of those is hard, but I guarantee you 2 of those are easy. Probably all 3 of them are easy. But
Yeah.
Benefit of the doubt. One of them might be a little tricky, but 2 of them are mistakes that you just can't make if you want to improve. You know, if you want to get to 160, you can't be missing those questions.
Yeah.
And so, Carlos, instead of trying to get 20 questions or more, you got to get paid for the ones you're already doing. Your problem is that you're skimming the surface. You're not going deep enough into each one of those questions. You're wasting time on those questions because you don't spend enough time on those questions to make sure that you actually get paid for them. I mean, a missed question is the world's worst waste of time. So what Carlos has to do to get to the point where, you know, eventually, Carlos, I hope you can get to 20 questions. But if you're going to get to 20 questions, I want you to get 18 or 19 of those right. And you can't if you miss 3 of the first 17. It's not possible.
Yeah.
So, you know, the fastest route to improvement today is to just get 2 more of those that you're missing in the first 17. And once you can do that, the student who excites me the most, then they might not be like the most naturally talented student. You know, it's not like we see people, Ben, who are kind of like us, who show up on the first day of LSAT class and finish the section and get 23 points on LR or whatever. You know, they're like, those people are out there. And we can help those students with the ones they're missing, but they're not missing that many, you know. The students that we can help a lot, and the ones that really excite me over the years, the ones where if I can get a student who used to get, you know, let's say they get 15 points on the section or something, you know, that student who finishes the section but misses 10 of them.
Yeah.
If I can get that student to slow down enough and get them to do only 15 questions, but get all 15 of those right, that's the one that makes me, like, my eyes light up, you know, as a teacher. It's like, oh, so now you've realized that the test actually makes perfect sense. All you have to do is slow down and be more careful and just clean up all of those stupid mistakes you're making. And from there, we can really improve. If you can get 15 in a row right at the beginning of the section, then next thing you know, you can do 16 or 17 or 18 and just kind of take baby steps, but stay focused on accuracy the whole time. And eventually, you know, maybe that student never gets to the point where they can finish the section, but maybe they get to the point where they do 21 questions and get them all right. And if they did, that's a just crazy dramatic improvement in their score.
Yeah.
So anyway, Carlos, I think you can do less work, but get paid more for it by just slowing down and focusing on accuracy.
I agree.
Anything else
I would
for
say
Carlos?
that's also that's the path to doing more questions eventually, because really your speed is a function of how well you know this test.
Right.
It's also a function of your just overall smarts, your intelligence, your ability to process information. But you don't have a whole lot of control over that. What you do have control over is how much you know about this test. And the way you learn more about this test is you slow down and you don't get anything wrong. You don't, when you're reviewing questions too, you don't just say, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Next, you say, whoa, I still am not convinced that B is wrong. And you dig in until you figure it out, because there is really nothing subjective about these answer choices. They may feel subjective to you and you may say, okay, shoulder shrug, I guess I just have to accept that. No, there's something you don't understand. Whenever I take a vote on these things and people are like, yeah, but C is making this assumption and answer choice D is making this other assumption. And I'm like, yeah, which assumption do you think is more reasonable? And when you make them explicit, I don't think I ever come across anyone who disagrees. They disagree until they realize what they're comparing and they realize, yes, this answer choice is actually objectively better.
The student in that situation also was almost guaranteed doing the test too passively in the first place.
Yeah.
If you constantly find yourself between two answer choices, your problem is that you're leaning on the answer choices to explain it to you instead of predicting the answer in the first place.
Yeah.
It's the fundamental paradox of the LSAT is that I'm going to go slower than most students reading the argument in LR,
Mm-hmm.
reading the passage in RC,
Yeah.
and setting up the game. The students are always working on the question, looking at the answer choices before I am, but I'm always done answering the question correctly before they are. Well, what's
Mm-hmm.
going on there? Well,
Yeah.
it's because I'm the master of the argument in LR. I'm going to attack that argument. I'm going to know exactly what's wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I read the question, I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to think about, oh, okay, well, it's a strengthened question. I've seen the problem with the argument. Here's how I would
Mm-hmm.
patch up that hole in the argument. And half the time or more, I've predicted exactly the answer.
Yeah.
On reading comp, I read the passage once, but I read it very well. I'm engaged, actively thinking about having a conversation with the author. And then when I get to the questions, oh, shocker, they're all easy because I
Yeah.
read the passage well. On games, maybe I take 4 or 5 minutes setting up worlds, really making inferences. And then the questions are trivial. And it's students think that they need to race the clock. They do it on all the different sections of the test. It's because there's a lot of real bad LSAT advice out there at telling people that they need to race the clock.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the irony, right? That's the paradox, is if you slow down in the first place, the test becomes easier. And then you have no problem with speed. You go plenty fast because you were slow in the first place. If you do it the other way around, if you try to rush through, it's just like you're running into court unprepared or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be successful. You half-ass it. Don't really know your shit. Next thing you know, you're stumbling and scrambling around. Students that's like their default mode is to go straight into the answer choices and then compare A to B to C to D to E. 3 of them are complete garbage. Probably
Yeah.
4 of them are complete garbage, but they'll be able to convince themselves that one of those wrong answers is like credible. And then maybe they also recognize that the right answer is credible, but now they've got 2 competing things and they're comparing them to each other. And meanwhile, the people who are good at the test just predicted the answer in the first place. Anyway, Carlos, you'll improve today if you just do fewer questions but get them all right. And you'll also improve tomorrow if you maintain that, extreme high level of accuracy. The goal is 100% on the
Yep.
questions you've attempted.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Carlos. I
Cool.
think we can really help, by the way. That right there, Carlos, no reason why you can't be in the 160s in 2 or 3 weeks. If you actually take that advice to heart, I think you will find that's potentially just dramatic, like night and day improvement. But
Yeah.
you get it like 70% ain't good. Maybe it is fine in the demon because the demon's adjusting difficulty. But 70% of the questions you attempt on a section suck. That's not good.
Yeah.
That is not good. We need 95%.